In this Remnant 2 video, we're going to be taking a look at the Awakened King. This is the first DLC for Remnant 2, which is going to be launching on PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox X, and Series S on November 14th. Recently, I was given a presentation about the Awakened King and got to ask Gunfire a bunch of questions about the DLC. We're going to go through what I learned in this video and talk a bit about Remnant 2 and DLCs. This is the first of 3 DLCs coming to Remnant 2. 2 more are scheduled for next year. You can either buy the DLC bundle and save yourself $5, or you can pick up this DLC for $9.99. And of course, anyone who purchased the Ultimate Edition of Remnant 2 will have access to this DLC at no cost. So the Awakened King DLC follows the story of the one true king who's been awakened and is out for blood. If you remember, this is a character that was talked about in the base game. And he's pissed off, and this DLC takes place in the Lossum area of the game. If you remember, this is kind of the Bloodborne-looking biome of the game. And the size of this DLC is about half of the regular biome size. So it's a good 3 to 5 hours of gameplay in there. And from what I understand, future DLCs are aiming to be about the same size in different biomes of the game. And with this DLC comes new storylines, new dungeons, new areas based on the world of Lossum. You're going to have a new archetype, the Ritualist, which is, allowing you for more class customization even outside of the DLC area. And obviously there's going to be new equipment and items that, make for new builds and stuff like that. And something I found particularly interesting while talking to the developers about this area of the game, the Awakened King, is that the main area of the game is more static than other areas of Remnant 2. And we kind of had a side discussion going on about why that is, and one of the things they're experimenting with is storytelling a bit more in Remnant 2, how to improve the storytelling experience. And so in this DLC, what you're going to see is that the main area outside of dungeons and stuff like that is static, and that's in order to give you a better storytelling experience because they can predict better where players are going to be and how things will spawn. So as you go through the main areas, that'll be kind of static, kind of like Dark Souls or, one of those types of games, or pretty much any other game in general. But the dungeons and everything like that will still be randomized. So they're experimenting to see if people like this better. So I encourage you, if you are playing this DLC, to give them feedback on whether you prefer that or you want a completely randomized overworld. I think this is a great balance, in my opinion, between 100% randomization and still being able to keep like the main core outside area of the game static for a better storytelling experience. Of course, I have not yet played the DLC, so we'll see how that plays out. So not a lot of details have been shared about the new archetype, the Ritualist. So we don't have a ton of things. It's going to be focused on status effects. We know that much. But not a lot of other details have been shared. And these are going to be shared closer to the launch of the DLC over the next couple weeks. We'll obviously be updating the wiki with all this information. We'll have the Ritualist on there, etc. very soon. And generally, the way that you unlock this DLC is that either you can get it to appear like during your story campaign, like it can appear if you have this DLC as one of the biomes that pops up or areas of the biome that pops up for you to play through as you go through the game naturally. So this will be added to the rotation and you might actually get it, on your first playthrough. But if you don't, then you obviously go to the World Stone and you can access it through there through adventure mode. So that's how you would unlock this once you've completed Lossum. And what's really cool about this, kind of like the other Remnant DLCs from the previous game, is that even if you don't own the DLC, you can still play with people that have it. Like you can get pulled into their game world and play with them through the world. So that's pretty cool in my opinion. And one of the things that I found particularly interesting, like watching through the gameplay as he was playing through the new area of the game, is that it's this like big open area of the game. And they've done this thing because it's static now. It's allowed them to do certain things that they couldn't do before. And like one example is he showed looking over like the whole map that he'd just been through, standing on this like sort of balcony, and it created this really cinematic moment where you're like, wow, that's the whole area that I just went through in order to get up here, that may or may not exist if it's not static on the overworld. So I really like that they're making this change, and I'm curious to see how other players will view that. And lastly, we had quite a bit of discussion about the future of Remnant 2 and, what we might see from Remnant 2 in the future with future DLCs or just updates to the game, because they've been continuously updating Remnant 2 since its launch. And the developers are huge fans of other genres of games, and they've been experimenting like talking about, maybe adding different game modes to the game to try and bring people back to the game, throughout the life cycle of this game, like over the next couple of years. What can they do to keep the game fresh by adding stuff? So I think even beyond these 2 DLCs, you might see some things added to the game. I don't think they will cost players money, but you might see maybe like a roguelike mode, or you might see some other game modes added to the game. They didn't specifically mention roguelike, but they are fans of other genres of the game, and I think they're not trying to make Remnant 2 into a live service game, but they want to be able to bring players back to this game periodically to give them a fresh experience. And I think you're going to see a lot more things added to Remnant 2 over time that really just give players a lot of different ways to play the game. So stay tuned for more Remnant 2 content. We are planning on doing some more builds for Remnant 2 for the DLC. I know those are popular. We didn't get enough of them done during the base game just because everything was coming out. So we will have some more DLC builds, and obviously we'll have the wiki updated with all the new equipment and stuff so you can see what's there in Theory Crafter builds as soon as we're allowed to put that up. If you have any other questions about the Awakened King, please leave them in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think of Remnant 2 so far? I really enjoyed Remnant 2 from what I've played, and I can't wait to play this DLC. The DLCs have historically added a lot to Remnant if you go look at the previous game, and I'm sure that will be the case here as well.